Coming up on this edition of Reel to Reel, we take you back to Spain, Portugal, and France as we revisit our July Catholic Communications pilgrimage, celebrating the 100th anniversary of the apparitions at Fatima. All just ahead on this edition of Reel to Reel. Hello and welcome to Reel to Reel. As 2017 comes to a close, tonight we revisit our Catholic Communications pilgrimage to Portugal, Spain, and France, led by Father Gary Daly and Springfield Bishop Mitchell Rosansky. In our first segment tonight, we take you to Fatima as the world marked the 100th anniversary this year of the apparitions there.
We arrive in the beautiful city of Fatima, which is a small, quaint city with a population of around 10,000. Only about 1,000 feet above sea level, Fatima has beautiful landscapes with many olive trees and magnificent vistas. But its most notable and precious attribute is the shrine of Our Lady of Fatima. At sunset, we enjoy the beauty of the grounds and the magnificent basilica with the colonnades stretching out like arms, reaching out to embrace us. We prepare this evening to pray the rosary with thousands of other people from around the world. We gather together at the Apparition Chapel, the actual spot where Our Lady appeared to the shepherd children. As our pilgrims gather in the square for this evening's festivities, they are struck by the fact that people of all ages and from countries throughout the world have gathered to pray together the rosary. To everyone's surprise, this evening we find our very own Bishop Rosansky as the principal celebrant for the Rosary and Eucharistic procession. Our pilgrims are elated and filled with pride as they mention to others that it is their bishop who is leading the prayer tonight.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity because last evening I was able to vest with the priests, the bishops, and other deacons, and you could just feel the holiness, the presence of all these people, and the presence of the Blessed Mother here. It's an experience you can't even explain. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I said that last night when I left here. So I could come back every year if I could.
On day 4 of our pilgrimage, we begin with Mass at the Angel of Peace Chapel in the Shrine of Our Lady of Fatima. Following the Mass, we begin our tour of the Shrine of the Apparition. It is here where popes have prayed. And in fact, Pope St. John Paul II, after having recovered from the assassination attempt on his life on May 13, 1981, the feast of Our Lady of Fatima, he returned here to this very spot to place the bullet that entered his body into the crown of Our Lady, where it remains as a reminder to the whole world of the evils that exist, but how our Mother protects her own. For John Paul II credited Our Lady that day for saving his life. We then toured the Basilica of Our Lady of the Rosary. Many of the events of the Marian apparitions at Fatima are depicted in the stained glass windows, while 15 altars within the church are dedicated to the 15 mysteries of the Rosary. Inside the basilica are the remains and tombs of the 2 shepherd children, Saint Francisco and his sister Saint Jacinta, canonized in Fatima by Pope Francis on May 13th of this year, 2017. Also, their cousin Lucia, proclaimed a servant of God on February 13th of this year, and her process toward beatification is progressing. We board the bus and travel a short distance to the hamlet of Aljustrel, where we tour the childhood homes of Francisco and Jacinta Marto. It was here that Our Lady appeared 4 times, 3 times to Jacinta and once to her and Francisco. As we enter the home of the 2 shepherd children's siblings, we see the bedrooms of the 2 shepherds. It was in the little room that Francisco died on April 4th, 1919, at the age of 10. Jacinta died a year later at the age of 9 in 1920. We then go to the home of Sister Lucia dos Santos, the last living seer of Fatima. She was born here, the last child in a family of 7, on March 22nd, 1907. Just down the path from Lucia's home is the well where the angel guardian of Portugal spoke to the children for the second time. The angel said to them, "Pray. pray very much. The holy hearts of Jesus and Mary have designs of mercy on you. Offer prayers and sacrifices constantly to the Most High. Our final night in Fatima is for many on the pilgrimage the moment that has been anticipated, participating in the rosary and candlelight procession through the square of Fatima. The crowd is noticeably larger, as well as the number of priests from around the world. To hear the rosary spoke in various languages, yet prayed by everyone, is truly the outward sign of the universality of our church. The procession is amazing as Our Lady is carried through the square.
There's not words to describe how beautiful it was tonight. When Mary walks by, everybody's sharing the lights with each other, everybody's talking to each other. And last night it was great because we met a couple from Belgium and we told them our bishop was on the altar. They thought that was so cool. We made friends right away. The people just get imbued with faith and love, and it's just wonderful to see.
That was another wonderful part of the pilgrimage. And if you are enjoying this pilgrimage, maybe you'd like to travel with us in 2018. Joining me now is Father Gary Daly to tell us about plans for the 2018 pilgrimage. Hello, Father Gary.
Hi, Sharon.
So you've been to Mexico, Spain, Portugal, and France in recent years. Where will you be going next year?
Well, 2018, we're going to move into a section of Eastern Europe, and we're going to be flying into Poland, and we'll spend 5 nights in Poland, 4 of those nights in the beautiful city of Krakow, not far from its center, overlooking the Vistula River. And from our hotel, each night we'll be traveling each day to various parts of Poland to visit various shrines and other beautiful sites of Poland. Then we move into Austria and stay 2 nights in Vienna and take in the sights and sounds of Vienna and the optional opportunity to go to a Mozart concert. And then from there we move into Prague, spending 3 nights in Prague and to enjoy its food and its music as we tour the city from the river.
And again, Bishop Rozansky, I understand, is going to be leading the trip with you?
Yes, it was awesome to have Bishop this past pilgrimage through Fatima into Spain and to Lourdes, and Bishop has agreed to take this trip again with us, and it's always great to have him on board with us and to listen to his words and to assist us in our pilgrimage journey.
So why did you select these locations?
Well, many people in the diocese have asked me, when are you going back to Poland? And so maybe this was an opportunity for us to go back there again, but also to add in these other dimensions of the trip through Austria and through Prague to make it, a little bit more full and to experience some other countries as well before we get back to the States.
Okay, if folks are interested, you have an information night coming up?
Yes, we have an information night coming up on January 4th, Thursday night, January 4th at 7 p.m. Here at the Bishop Marshall Center behind the Cathedral of St. Michael.
And also people can call our office for more information. You can call 413-452-0643. That's 413-452-0643, or visit our website, iobserve.org, for more information. And I cannot wait to see what great stories come back to us in 2018. And still to come on Reel to Reel, we will revisit Spain and Lourdes as we continue remembering this past summer's Catholic Communications pilgrimage. It's all still to come on Reel to Reel.
The Chalice of Salvation, your weekly spiritual connection. I'm Brother Terrence Scanlon, inviting you to take time out of your busy days and join us Sunday morning at 10. We welcome Father Mark Stelzer, along with students and faculty from the Elms College. The Chalice of Salvation, your spiritual connection. New Year's Eve morning at 10, right here on 22 News.
Come to Providence Place, owned by the Sisters of Providence, for retirees looking for an ideal rental setting to continue their active, independent lifestyles. We offer bright 1- and 2-bedroom apartments, a magnificent chapel with daily mass, restaurant-style dining, wellness, and entertainment programs, all with a friendly community spirit on beautiful grounds. Call for a tour, 413-534-9700.
Travel with Catholic Communications in 2018 on a pilgrimage to Poland, Vienna, and Prague. I'm Father Gary Daly, inviting you to join Bishop Rosansky and me July 16th through the 27th for an inspiring pilgrimage to Eastern Europe. We'll begin in Poland, visiting the monastery in Częstochowa, and then spend 4 nights in beautiful Kraków, visiting the Divine Mercy Sanctuary, the Wawel Castle and Cathedral, Auschwitz, and many other sites. In Vienna, we will have the opportunity to visit beautiful palaces and shrines and attend a Mozart concert. We will conclude in Prague for a 3-night stay, visiting St. Nicholas Church and other beautiful churches and sites, and an evening riverboat cruise. Join us for an information session January 4th at 7 p.m. at the Bishop Marshall Center. For more information, look for the link on iobserve.org or call 413-452-0643. Travel with us in 2018.
Continuing on with our pilgrimage recap, Father Gary Daly and Bishop Mitchell Rosansky stop in the historical Santiago de Compostela on their way to Burgos and Loyola, visiting the Cathedral of St. James and walking a part of the El Camino, also known as the Way of St. James.
We arrive in the beautiful and historical city of Santiago de Compostela, most famous for being the completion of the Camino, or St. James Way. This is a city filled with young people and a city energized with the true spirit of pilgrimage. The center of the city is without a doubt the Cathedral of St. James, built in the 11th century, and in the 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries, many other additions and adornments became part of this magnificent structure. We had the opportunity of celebrating Mass twice in a beautiful side chapel where the relic of the true cross is displayed and venerated. One of the fascinating parts of the cathedral, and for which it is well known, is the botafumeiro, a huge, solid silver incense burner weighing 116 pounds. 80 pounds of charcoal and incense are placed inside. It is hung by rope in a pulley system, and 8 men called tirabolieros are charged with pulling the ropes and swinging the censer from side to side, reaching heights of nearly 70 feet. The dramatic swinging of the censer produces large volumes of smoke which fills the cathedral with a sweet odor. We had the privilege of witnessing this magnificent sight and experiencing this ancient tradition because we were just 2 days away from the Feast of St. James, celebrated on July 25th. We tour the beautiful basilica and climb the steps of the main altar to get a closer look at the bust of St. James. What's the feeling whenever you celebrate Mass when there's one of the apostles buried in the church?
Well, first of all, when we look at this magnificent structure here, the Cathedral of Santiago, it is a testimony to faith. And then when we think of the road El Camino leading to this cathedral, the 500 miles of pilgrimage of walking that many, many pilgrims do, it certainly is an impressive piece of faith.
Tens of thousands walk or cycle the Camino each year, journeying 500 miles. To complete this great pilgrimage of El Camino, one must walk at least 65 miles, or cycle or travel by horseback at least 125 miles to obtain the certificate at the end of the journey. El Camino, or the Way, has led many to conversion to the faith, or conversion from sin, or simply a spiritual experience that has increased their faith.
I did part of the Camino early in the morning with a group of people, and we prayed the rosary on the way, so it was like, here we are, walking in the same footsteps, and right around the feast day, which made the whole city very colorful, alive. People were coming in. It was just a beautiful, beautiful place to be, and one that would be worth going back to. And doing the walk. More of the walk.
More of the walk.
More of the walk.
Our final evening in Santiago takes many of us to local shops and restaurants, milling around the streets with hundreds of other people enjoying a week-long celebration in honor of St. James. They say timing is everything, but God's providence is even more astounding. That we're here 2 days before the Feast of St. James. It's always good to have a little fun while on pilgrimage, and it's good to be here, and it's good to celebrate in a very special way the Feast of the Apostle James. we leave the city of Santiago de Compostela and begin our long journey across the north of Spain toward Burgos for our overnight stop. We have the opportunity to go to the square and enjoy the shops and cafes, as well as tour the magnificent Cathedral of St. Mary. The construction of this Gothic cathedral started in 1221 and was finally completed in 1567. Inside the Cathedral of Burgos, visitors cannot miss the unbelievable dome, which dates back to the 16th century. In the central nave is the main altarpiece, which is considered to be one of the best altarpieces in Spain. The artwork and the stained glass windows can keep you there for hours, admiring the craftsmanship and the story of our faith. We have the joy of celebrating Mass in the St. Thecla Chapel, which has touches of the Baroque style of architecture. You are led here on pilgrimage. You may have thought that you chose to come here on your own, and in some cases, in some ways, that is true. But the Holy Spirit prompted you, and you cooperated with the Spirit's desire for you to be on this pilgrimage so that you may be touched in one way or another. This cathedral, together with the cathedral in León, as well as Santiago de Compostela, represent the three most important cathedrals on the way of St. James. We leave the beautiful city of Burgos and make our way toward Loyola, most famous for the birthplace of St. Ignatius of Loyola. We tour the 18th century Baroque-style Basilica of St. Ignatius. It is a very modest structure with a great dome covered in Baroque paintings and designs. On its left side, we visit the birthplace of St. Ignatius that has been beautifully restored to its original state. We celebrate Mass together in the Chapel of the Conversion on the Feast of St. James. This chapel was the exact spot where St. Ignatius recuperated and converted. There is a beautiful sculpture in this chapel which shows the convalescent Ignatius turning to God. During his recuperation, he read the life of Christ and a book on the saints. Impressed with what he read, he began his journey of conversion. He was ordained a priest and founded the Jesuits in 1540. 16 years later, he died on July 31st, and his body is buried in the Gesù Church in Rome.
I think today was very special with the Feast of St. James, along with being here, having Mass at the chapel where St. Ignatius of Loyola had his conversion. You can't get any more on spot with that, especially being St. James' feast day and here being in Spain.
Walking in St. Bernadette's footsteps, those who took part in the July Catholic Communications pilgrimage conquered the steep hills of the Walking Path of Consolation. This next segment, produced by Father Gary Daly and Chief Videographer Bill Pecosha, visits Lourdes, France, home of Our Lady of Lourdes Shrine, where the pilgrims were able to celebrate Mass with their bishop.
We continue our drive from Burgos and Loyola through the beautiful Pyrenees mountain range on our way to the southwestern part of France. Lourdes is a small town of about 15,000 people and is able to accommodate nearly 5 million visitors a year. On February 11, 1858, a 14-year-old girl named Bernadette Subaru witnessed the first of 18 visions of our Blessed Virgin Mary at a grotto near Lourdes, France. Bernadette's final vision occurred on July 16, 1858. As Our Lady requested, a church was built on this site of the grotto where Our Lady appeared. Work began on the 14th of October, 1862, and the basilica was dedicated to the Immaculate Conception and consecrated in 1876. The crypt under the main church was blessed in 1866 in the presence of Bernadette Subaru. It would be the last thing that she saw before she entered the convent of the Sisters of Charity in Nevers, France. We visit the beautiful grounds of the shrine. Many people make the grueling walk up a steep hill praying the Stations of the Cross. Others visit the many chapels and candle shrines. Some experience the waters of Lourdes, both bathing in the baths as well as drinking the water from the spring. And many fill their bottles to bring water home to loved ones. What the rosary is to Fatima, water is to Lourdes. And this is what people come for, the healing waters. With the large numbers of infirmed coming to the celebrations throughout the year, it was decided a much larger church needed to be built to accommodate the multitudes. It was consecrated the Basilica of Our Lady of the Rosary on March 25, 1958, the Feast of the Annunciation, by then Cardinal Roncalli, soon to be Pope John the 23rd. This basilica is said to be the largest underground basilica in the world. The piazza outside the basilica overlooks the entire shrine. The Rosary Esplanade, with a surface area of around 2.5 acres, is surrounded by 2 great ramps. These are like a mother's arms gathering her children to press them close to her heart. It is here that the daily evening procession ends.
The procession we had last night was overwhelming. When you see the hundreds of followers that come here with their faith to believe that the Virgin Mother can help them in their infirmities, and all the work that goes in, all the helpers they have.
The number of people in wheelchairs and walkers and all the attendants who are here with them, who have dedicated at least a week of their life, who have, in the most part, paid their own way to come to be volunteers.
People that are looking for a smidgen of hope, just a little bit of grace in order to bear their infirmity and possibly even receive a healing, if not physical, at least a spiritual healing, so that they can embrace whatever cross that has been given to them. With all the beauty of Lourdes, the most special and memorable place in Lourdes has to be the grotto. This is indeed a holy place, the place where once again heaven met earth. It was here at this sacred place that Our Lady visited Bernadette, and the water flowed from the ground in an abundant spring that millions come to drink and bathe in. It is at this grotto where we celebrate Mass with our bishop in the early hours of the morning in our final day.
As we gather here this morning, very conscious of the events that happened almost 160 years ago, we reflect in our own lives. How do we allow ourselves to be poor in the things of this world so that our hearts can be open to the richness of the message that God gives to us? But if we allow ourselves to truly be poor in a humble way, we can open our hearts to that message of salvation that God brings to us.
And so we come at the conclusion of our pilgrimage here at Lourdes with hearts full of gratitude, and we praise God for this site, and we praise God for all the many sites that we have witnessed over these past 11 days. What a beautiful way to end our pilgrimage through Portugal, Spain, and France. We give thanks for the graces received and the many that will come as a result of others hearing and witnessing the beauty of this pilgrimage. May Our Lady of Fatima and Our Lady of Lourdes bless you abundantly.
What an amazing coverage of this 12-day journey. Our videographer and editor, Bill Pecosha, combed through hours of footage in order to produce these segments. And as you can imagine, some of the interviews actually ended up on the cutting room floor, so to speak. Well, Bill recently dove back in and retrieved some of these spoken gems. As our holiday gift to you, we hope you enjoy these leftovers.
Bom dia. We are in Lisbon, Portugal.
We are taking in the sights of the town and celebrating Mass at the birthplace of St. Anthony. Having had that privilege of having Mass there and visiting the cathedral where he was baptized, we continue our voyage.
I knew that it would be a well-planned trip. I knew that our days would be filled and very religious and meaningful, and it has turned out that way.
My wife and I were in the main square of Lisbon, and we were taking photos by the fountain when I was tapped on the shoulder by a woman named Noel. The whole group of women was Muslim, and they were very inquisitive about the faith. Noel being her name, I said, that means Christmas in French. But I could catechize for maybe 3 to 4 minutes, 5 minutes, and It was a great thing to meet them. They were very open-minded, and that was unique for me.
Here we are in this beautiful square, where just 2 months ago, Pope Francis celebrated the beatification of Saints Jacinta and Saint Francisca. As we gather here today, we do so with great thanksgiving and with many, many petitions for Our Lady of Fatima.
I was able to come about 10 years ago here and learn much more about what the Blessed Mother's message was. And yet, I don't see the message spreading that much. I mean, people I talk to, and they've heard of it, but really don't know much about it. So that's why I'm here, to learn more and to spread the message when I get home. I buy articles and books, pamphlets to pass on other people.
We went to go see up in the woods where the first apparition with Lucia happened and the children. Being out in that atmosphere became much more spiritual for me. While I think Fatima, the layout is spectacular, there was a closeness, I think, that you could get spiritually when we were in the woods.
Here in Santiago, we're taking in the local scenes. What a privilege it has been to celebrate Mass at the tomb of the Apostle James and to view that wonderful church built over the centuries as a symbol of faith.
To actually be there and experience everything, it gives you a feeling inside that you just can't get out of pictures. And then even just meeting some of the people that did the journey, the St. James way, and then the history of the churches are just phenomenal.
Here in Basque Country, at this place, St. Ignatius was born. What a privilege it is to be in this holy, holy place, this conversion of St. Ignatius of Loyola and the place where he started the Jesuits.
Our Lady is very, very concerned with her children, no matter who we are and where we are. She wants to save our souls, and souls are what Jesus died for. So learning her messages and being in tune with them is important. So hopefully it'll allow me to be open up for myself to have my soul converted in those that I see on a daily basis.
In Lourdes, the scene is filled with wheelchairs, with those who come here in faith. Let us remember them in prayer always, for in them we see the suffering of Christ, and in that suffering of Christ, we have our redemption.
My faith has deepened over this pilgrimage, but maybe more than that, I know my prayers have become more intense.
The message I'll bring home with me is that we need to be forgiving, prayerful, and hopeful for our future life, and finding something meaningful to do in our life to help us receive eternal bliss.
To all our fellow Catholics and Christians, travel. Get to see the Christian Catholic world if you have a chance, because you can't imagine what it's like just staying at home. If you can do it, that would be my recommendation.
Excellent job, Bill, and we look forward to 2018's pilgrimage. And for this week, that's Reel to Reel. Thanks for spending part of your evening with us. For updates anytime, you can find information and news on the Catholic Church, both here in the Diocese of Springfield and around the world on our news and information site, iobserve.org. And also be sure to friend us on Facebook, where you will be able to travel with our reporters as they work on stories for Reel to Reel and get the latest news on the Catholic Church. Like us at Catholic Communications. I will be back at this same time next year, for another edition of Reel to Reel, your window on the world around you. Happy New Year.
Reel to Reel is a production of the Catholic Communications Corporation, funded in part by the annual Catholic Appeal, and the support of you, our faithful viewers.